Welcome to Real Mr. Nice Guy. I'm your host, MNG, and I got a great story for you today. But before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and check out all our other videos that we have posted. We have more videos are on the way, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified of all the new videos that's going to drop in the coming future. Alright, so I have a read for you today, and basically with this read, a guy had posted about his 7-year-old son and he's looking for guidance. So basically the way it's titled is, Father to a 7-year-old looking for some guidance. Hey dads, my only child, he's my heart, my pride and joy. A few days ago, at the tail end of a pretty stressful day, he wanted to wrestle, which he enjoys doing. Lately, having more physical and emotional outbursts, so I've been pausing activities to address it. I'm not sure if it's the best style. While we were wrestling, he kicked me away, and I stopped him again and said, "You know we don't kick." I was a bit tough about it and held his foot in place. I know he wasn't physically hurt, but his feelings got hurt. And he said, "I'm just a kid, just a little kid," and it broke me. Like for him to have self-awareness enough about him feeling bad because of me. So I'm looking for advice. How can I be a better parent? He's a bit of a jokester, always looking to make friends laugh, participate in sports, but not a self-starter. Really good with art and math. Like I want to bond better with him and maybe read up on more on what boys that age need. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. So we're gonna break this down and we're gonna kind of look at some of the things that he can do to kind of remedy this situation. And I understand where he's coming from because my son went through outbursts. Some of his outbursts was due because he wanted his mom to be around and unfortunately she wasn't around. And trying to make a kid understand adult concepts is a little difficult, and one of the things you want to be mindful of is addressing it and kind of pairing it up with something else to make it easier to consume. So let's kind of just go through this and just break it down. Okay. So he said a few days ago at the tail end of a pretty stressful day, he wanted someone to wrestle, which he enjoys. So right here, I'm going to start right here. So one of the things I want to talk about so far as stressful day. So I don't know what kind of job this guy does. I'm not sure whether he lives in an apartment, he lives in a house, whether he drives to work, or whether he catches the bus to work. One of the things I will always stress is that at the end of a stressful day, sometimes you may want to just take a moment before walking into the house. Just kind of get your mind together, just kind of get yourself together. Because kids don't understand. Kids don't understand what a stressful day is. Like, I don't even know if this kid is in school because he still got a whole bunch of energy after the fact. Like, most kids I know, they go to school, they be kind of tired. Like, they come home, do their homework, lay down, like, I want to play video games, or they want to do a whole bunch of other stuff. But, he enjoys wrestling, so I guess they watch WWE and they just go at it from time to time. So, first thing I would say is try to kind of pace yourself before going in. Just kind of get your mind together. Try to get your mind together, and because you know what you're walking into. You understand what you're walking into, and I'm not saying you had an outburst with a child or anything, but you know what you're walking into, and coming off of a pretty stressful day, you could get a lash out or anything. So that's the first thing I would say is just be mindful of the stressor points that you have walking into the situation. So just kind of decompress before you go in. Your son's gonna want to have their little fighting time, their little wrestling time. So definitely just kind of sit back and be like, all right, let me just sit in the car for a minute. Listen to some calming music, or listen to some amp music, or listen to a WWE wrestler's theme song. Whatever you want to do all of that. Just when you go in, just try to relieve the stress from the end of the day and kind of weighing out from that. So then, it says lately his son been having more physical and emotional outbursts. So he's been pausing activities to kind of address it. So I'm trying to understand, like, what other activities are you pausing to address it? Because you did say that they're really good at math, really good at art, and they are really they're good at sports, or they participate in sports. Not self-started, but they participate in sports. So are you pausing those activities to kind of address the outbursts outside of the wrestling that you're doing? So it is the best style. It's try to address it right then and there. You don't want to wait to after the activity to address it. So again, you really want to pair this up with something else. So if he's having more physical outbursts, so far as like balling up his fists, swinging, punching, and trying to hit you in the face, you gotta stop it, pause, and say, hey, we don't kick, we don't hit in the face. That's not part of wrestling. If you look at wrestling on TV, when you watch WWE, or if you look at your favorite wrestler, what they're doing, yeah, that's what they do because they're professionals. But what we're doing, we don't do that. We have other rules. So you kind of put those rules and boundaries in place to kind of wane off of, the kicking and the punching. Now, if you want to grapple me and you want to tussle to the ground, okay, that's fine. But we're not going to do the swinging, the punching. We're not going to do any of that stuff. So trying to put those boundaries in place and pause activities, and then, don't even just pause the activities and then start again. Stop the activities altogether and say, until you can understand that we're not kicking or punching, then we're just not going to do it at all until you can understand this concept, and then see if that changes the behavior a little bit. And if it doesn't change the behavior, then you're going to have to try a different approach. So I will keep that in mind. Pausing the activities and addressing it right then and there, actually that is a pretty good style because you're addressing the issue right then and there. I don't know about any other dads, but anytime that me and my son would wrestle or we'll fight and it would kind of get out of hand, you'll want to address the situation right then and there. You don't want to wait to address the situation. Now, there have been times where me and my son have been joking around and the conversation kind of went from like a little joke to like a major joke, or he kind of crossed the line or crossed the boundary. So when that happens, I definitely try to address it right then and there. So with kids, and as they grow up, you definitely want to address any situation that is occurring that you feel like crosses the line right then and there. You don't want to let them go beyond the line and then continue to go beyond the line, and then you want to wait a few hours and then address it later. You kind of want to stay away from that type of activity and that kind of territory, because what happens is they feel like they can push the boundary and they're going to feel like it's okay. And then if you go back a few hours later and then had a conversation, they're really going to think that they can go ahead and push the boundary because you had to think about it first to determine whether or not it was even a good idea to address it. So you want to try to stray away from those type of activities. So you want to make sure that when you're having these conversations, you're setting the boundary right then and there. Don't wait to a later date or to a few hours later to go ahead and set the boundary. Make sure you're setting the boundary right then and there. Never wait to set the boundary, because once you set the boundary, in the midst of it right there, is dead in the water. They have a clear understanding. Me and my son was out camping one day. We had went to like some little tiny cabins. We had went out there for his birthday. So he wanted to travel, so we went out there, and we were having a good time. And let me tell you, it's dark as hell out there. I mean, you couldn't see beyond the window how dark it was. If it wasn't lights out there, like on the actual cabin, man, I'm telling you, like you would literally get lost 5 feet from your door. That's how dark it was. So we were in the cabin, and we were joking around like we normally do, and he had said something out of the way, and I had to address it right then and there. I couldn't sit there and think about it. I knew he crossed the line because the jokes that we were throwing back and forth, they were harmless, and then he said something that was a little out of line. Now don't ask me what he said, because I can't remember, because I seen red at that point in time, and I almost jumped on the top butt bag and got at him. So I had to make sure that I established that boundary in mind. My son is 17. He hasn't crossed the boundary or pushed the limits in a while. So this was his attempt to try to push the boundary and have that conversation and say something, or have that conversation with me to say, okay, well, let me see how far I can push it, or I'm about to say something and let me see what's gonna happen, because we joking and everything, and jokes are great. You know, I love joking with my son. You know, that's how we bond, and we wrestle and everything. You know, we have a good time. We play video games together too, but there's also a certain level of respect that I expect from him, and he knows that there are certain things you cannot say to me, and there are certain boundaries that you can't cross. So there, like just the other day, we had a conversation, and he was talking about his friends and everything, and you know, I was trying to get some. I was really trying to follow up on a conversation that we had earlier. So we had this conversation, you know, it's about one of his friends and everything, and he called one of his friends a 304. Well, forget it. He called one of his friends a hoe. And I was like, wow, like, we don't say that in this household. He was like, well, hoe is not a bad word. And I said, hoe is a bad word. Like, you can't say hoe. And we went through this whole conversation about why he can't and cannot say that word. Now, did he feel like he was pushing a boundary? No, he was expressing himself, which I am completely fine with. I'm glad he's expressing himself in that type of manner. Because if you're frustrated, and sometimes you just have to get it out, and some kids are going to cuss, okay? It may not be in front of us, but they're going to cuss. Now, I would allow my son to cuss in front of me if it's out of frustration and he's trying to get it out. Understandable. Sometimes you can't get all the words you want to say. You can't get intellectual words out when you're frustrated. Like, I've tried to get intellectual words out when I'm frustrated, but I'm too hot. So I just start cussing like a sailor. That's just me. I don't know. Everybody is different, you know. But my thing is if he really wanted to say it, he could have just said, you know, hey, Dad, this is the best way I can describe my friend and his activities, by calling him a hoe. Like, but excuse my language. I'd have been like, you know what? I can't even be mad at you. You can't call him a gigolo, because he ain't getting paid for what he do. What else can you call? Can you call him a player? You can't call him that. Can you call him a pimp? You can't call him that. So when we're looking at the type of descriptions of words that he can use, I'm pretty sure there's a plethora of words that out there that he can use, but hoe is the best one that he came up with. So hoe it is. So I'm not mad at him because he used it, but I did make sure that I addressed it. Like, we don't say that. Like, if you would have asked me because you said it, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it, because it's the best way you can describe your friend, you know, with his vocabulary at this point in time. So I wouldn't have had too much of a big issue with that. Now, if we go down and we look at, so basically, you know, to end that part of the conversation is make sure that you're addressing any kind of outburst, emotional, physical, or whatever, you know, behaviors. You want to address it right then and there, because you want to be able to set the boundary. At the point in time that you stop setting a boundary, your kids are going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing to see how far they can go. And they're going to push. So you got to make sure that you push back, and then you don't allow them to have that space and opportunity, because that's how kids tend to go ahead and fight their parents. Because if they figure they can get away with having a smart mouth, then they feel like they can get away with being physical as well. So you want to be mindful of those things. Now the post further says, it says, while we were wrestling, he kicked me, and I stopped again and said that we don't kick. You know, I was a little bit rough with him. He was a little bit rough with him. And he said his feelings was feeling hurt, that he's just a kid. Okay, now, and he said that broke him. All right, I'm gonna tell you this. Get over that feeling, okay? Kids are gonna say stuff to get up under your skin. The kids, the little child or the boy is saying, no, I'm just a kid, you're being too rough with me. First and foremost, here's the lesson. If you're gonna be rough with me, I'm gonna equally be rough with you. Now, I'm not saying that I'm gonna fight you like a grown adult, but I'm going to administer the same infliction of pain that you're doing to me, I'm doing to you. So it's not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna use like grown man strength on you, but I am gonna do the things that you're doing to me back. So you put me in a submission hold, I'm gonna put you in a submission hold. You know, you tumble with me to the ground, I'm gonna tumble with you to the ground. Like, I'm not looking to hurt you or anything. I think what's But the problem is that the kid wants to play, and he's not getting the attention that he wants. He wants to play and kick, and he's getting a little frustrated with his father stopping the activity. So basically kid's like, well, I can do what I want to you. I'm gonna swing on you, I'm gonna kick you, I'm gonna do all that stuff, but you can't do it to me. And the fact that you held my leg, I'm only a kid, and you hurt my feelings. And it's not hurting his feelings like physically, but it's hurting his feelings because he's like, well, why can't we play the way that I want to play? If I want to throw a toy at you, I find it fun because I want to throw a toy at you. I want to have that type of fun. That's what he's doing. And it's unfair that it's happening that way. So the self-awareness, I agree that the self-awareness is there because the little kid feelings was hurt, but at the same time, I think his feelings is hurt because the play keeps stopping, or the activities keep stopping, because he wants to do the things that he wants to do. He wants to play the way he want to play, and it's not happening that way, and he's getting frustrated. And I understand, if we out there playing basketball and a person keep calling a foul, and we just, you play hard in basketball. So if we out there playing, this is just an example. We out there playing basketball and a person come out there and he foul you, and you like, dang, all right, if it's a hard foul, yeah, I'm gonna call it a foul. But if you calling a foul over every tic-tac foul or touch that happens towards you, man, it gets frustrating. Like, bro, you stopping to play. Like, we just trying to play. Sometimes you just want to play, no matter how physical it gets sometimes, as long as you ain't bleeding or nothing like that. Like 1990s basketball, 1980s basketball, okay, fine. But a little bump here and a little, foul there, or how the case is, but you still get the end one. All right, cool, keep the play going, but man, you ain't got to keep calling fouls on everything. And most people do it on the last point too, especially when it's tied up. They call tic-tac fouls on everything. I ain't really gonna get into that, but you get my point. So because he keeps stopping the activity, the little kid's getting frustrated. Like, well, you keep stopping the activity and you keep talking to me, and I just want to play the way I want to play. But he's not understanding that there's a boundary that comes along with that. Now, I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm getting from this art, from this post. And he said he has self-awareness about feeling bad. I don't really think the kid feeling bad. I think it's more. I do think he's feeling. I take it back. I do think he's feeling bad, but I think he's more so feeling bad because he can't play the way he wants to play. He wants to fight the way he wants to fight, and that's not happening. He probably do watch WWE because they do some crazy things on there. For one, when I was a kid, I enjoyed it too. Me and my cousin wrestled, and I ended up breaking my wrist wrestling with my cousin. He suplexed me, I tried to suplex him, broke my wrist. He was 4 years older than me, way bigger than me. So, and that stuff happens. Had I known that, I wasn't supposed to do that, well, boys will be boys. So, what the hell did I know at that time? I ain't know nothing. All right, so let's see. How can I be a better parent? Well, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, honestly. There's always room for improvement to be a better parent, but I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I think you just need to make sure that you're setting a boundary, make sure that you're using adequate examples of having conversation with him so he will understand that what he's doing, essentially is wrong. And he even in fighting, like MMA or stuff like that, some people still have respect for their opponent. Well, not necessarily have respect for their opponent, but there in this situation, he has to understand that there's a certain level of play that he can do with you, and you're setting that boundary. You're saying that he's a little bit of a jokester. He likes to make his friends laugh. Okay, how about getting him a joke book? Or helping him out with a few jokes, or sitting back, and my face itch, sitting back and just having a conversation, and y'all throwing jokes back and forth. Why did the chicken cross the road? Who the hell knows? I don't know. Whatever it is, like change the activities. Like say on Monday y'all wrestle, Tuesday y'all tell jokes or something like that. Something along that line. So change it up a little bit so every day after work is not just wrestling. It's not just wrestling. So you're kind of getting involved in other aspects, and he can go and tell those jokes to his friends. promise you my nose itch. I don't know why. So when we're looking at, him being a jokester and everything, like a joke book. When I was a kid, I used to order from Scholastics. I don't know if they still have the Scholastic catalog. I could have ordered every book out of there if we had the money, but we didn't. So with Scholastic books, I used to order like the joke books, like 1001 jokes for Valentine's Day, 1001 jokes for, whatever. So I would have those books. Nobody liked to listen to my jokes, but we would have those books. So it was always interesting to have those books, to be able to, tell those jokes to my friends and everything, and be able to share. So I think that would be a good bonding moment for you to be able to share with your son, like some joke books or some jokes that you heard when you was a kid, so he can go ahead and tell his friends, he can get, be a great hit. And I also participate in sports. So he participates in sports, but he's not a self-starter. So help him out there. Help him be a self-starter. Take him out into the backyard. I don't know if he's playing soccer, football, basketball, or whatever. But just go ahead and invest that time with, training him in the sports. Going on YouTube and learn a few things. So you could have, Monday for wrestling, Tuesday for telling jokes, and Wednesday and Thursday you can go and play sports. And y'all can go into the backyard, or y'all can go to the park and play basketball or baseball, throw the baseball around, or have him practice, swinging a baseball bat and everything. Whatever sport that he's involved in, kind of work with him in that sport. That's a great bonding method, honestly. And then you can sit there, you can watch the games, and then you can kind of show him what the plays are, show him how the different play styles. Every basketball player has a particular play style that they have. So you can kind of break down some of those things, and that's great for a 7-year-old because they're absorbing all that information. So when if they get further on and wanting to play that sport, the great thing about that is that because now they have an understanding of the ins and outs of the sport. They understand of certain players, certain play styles. They got understanding of how certain players are supposed to be ran, how you can break down the play. So that's great for a 7-year-old. He's going to absorb all of that. And then it can kind of help him be a self-starter too, because he gets a little bit more confident, and then he gets more involved. Now you also say he's really good with art and math. Okay, so Fridays could be like art day. I'm gonna be honest, like the new math is confusing. I don't know what the hell they doing. Like every time my son even brought home some math, I looked the other way. Like, look here, like the way we did math was completely different. They do the short form of division, and I get confused. I'm like, look, I'm used to long form. Like all that other stuff is a lot. So if you want to get into the math, be my guest. Knock it out the park. I'm gonna reside with the art. So if you go ahead and do the art stuff, that'd be cool. Go ahead and paint with them. Go ahead and mess around with some clay. There's a lot of different forms to art. And it's so, and it branches out, and it's so much, it's coloring books, it's charcoal, it's paint, it's different forms of paint, they got washable paint, and then if you have a house, the cool thing about this is that you can actually have him paint a mural on the wall, something that he can look at and appreciate. That's a great idea as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do that can actually benefit, that actually could be a benefit with bonding with your child. And I know, and that was one of the things that you were basically stating, was that, you wanted to bond better with him. And, maybe you would read up on what boys that age need. What's to read up on? You have everything at your disposal. What did you do when you were a kid? Let's think about it. What did we do when we were kids? We went and jumped fences. We went and took bikes and rode them over ramps. I mean, there's a lot of activities that we did when we were a kid. We went to the park. There's a lot of things that we did. We picked up bugs and destroyed anthills and all that other great stuff that we did as boys. We did stuff. So, and then right now, they have a lot of indoor activities as well that you can do with your kids. You can put your son, and since he got all that energy and want to wrestle, put him in karate. That could be something that y'all can grow and learn together. You could take adult karate, he could take kid karate, and then y'all can practice that together. See, boom, that's another idea right there for you. It's simple. There's nothing to read up on. There's nothing to go study. There isn't a book in the world that can tell you how to be a parent. They write the books and people buy them, but there's nothing in this world that can tell you how to be a parent. The only thing you can actually do is to come up with creative ways to bond with your child. Like, even I can only tell you the experiences that I have with bonding with my son. We bond through video games, we bond through conversations, books. Like, he offered me books to read, but I do try to read them somewhat. I just be a little busy, and I do need to take the time out. And I'll be honest, I do just need to take the time out to actually read the books, and then we can actually go into discussion about those. And then that's just another bonding thing that we'll have is reading books. But we also watch anime. I'll suggest an anime for him to watch. He'll suggest an anime for me to watch, and then we go ahead and we talk about it. We go into a deep dive along with it. So I say that to say that there is a lot of things that you can do in order to bond with your child, and there's new pathways that you can take to bond with your child. So you take those experiences from when you was a kid. You take some things that you may come across, activities that you may come across online. I think the karate thing is a great idea for a child, especially for ones that have a lot of energy. Every time you come home, he wants to wrestle. Put him in karate to teach him discipline. It may help him have more confidence, and it may get him to be more of a self-starter, so he'll maybe go out there and do more things. So honestly I think it's a great idea. I think you should really run with that part of the idea. If you're a little bit kind of tired of the wrestling, I think the karate would be a good idea to go ahead and put him in. But that is our show. I'm MNG. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you go ahead and follow and share our content. I will see you on the next